October 23, 2025, Town of Indian River Shores regularly scheduled council meeting. We will call the meeting to order. Welcome to all our guests. If you could put your phones on silent or off, that would be greatly appreciated. We're going to start with the invocation, and before we do, I'd like to ask everyone to keep Councilman Dane in your thoughts and prayers. He's not feeling very well, so we hope he has a speedy recovery and wish him well. If you could kindly do the invocation, Councilman Carroll.
We're thankful for this town and its residents. We're grateful for all who work for the betterment of our community and all who serve on its behalf. That those who work here and those who serve here be ever mindful of the town's vision and mission statement. Grant this council the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, personal peace in our lives, and joy in our task. Amen.
Amen. If you'll join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, terrific. If you can call the roll, please.
Mayor Foley?
Here.
Vice Mayor Alwater?
Here.
Councilmember Carroll?
Here.
Councilmember Altieri?
Here.
Let the record show all members present with the exception of Councilmember Dane.
All right, thank you. Are there any requests to reorder the agenda, any deletions or emergency additions? All right, there being none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We're going to start with proclamations. 3A, presentation of Dr. David K. Moore, Indian River County Superintendent of Schools, and I think we'll just say et al. You have a distinguished group of people, it looks like, with you, and I presume you're going to update us on things we've all read, which is the stellar performance of the school district and the good news that keeps coming and keeps coming. And it's nice to have good news in our times.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take it away.
And that is our goal. And we will be quick and brief because, as Bob says, we got a school system to run. But the last time I was here, I was honored to receive a proclamation for being selected as the State Superintendent of the Year. And that reign is coming to an end in December. So my pageant waving days will be coming to a close. But that last time I was here, we hadn't had our outcomes for the last school year, which we now have in the books and are working diligently to continue to move forward. So we've been able to go from 46% A schools, which were literally just the magnet schools in Beachland, to 95% of our schools being an A. We eliminated C schools in our school system. We now, we only have 3 B schools, and we're working hard to ensure at the end of this year we will deliver on the promise that I made coming in, is that every single school in this district should be an A. And we are very proud of the progress of having all, with the exception of 3 being an A and those 3 being a B. But there's still a lot of work to be done. You know, some points that we're really, really proud of is our graduation rate continues to maintain at 96% among one of the top 5 scores in the state. This year, this data hasn't been released yet, won't be released until later this year, but about 90% of last year's graduates who received the diploma graduated with either passing an advanced placement course, a dual enrollment course, or having a career industry certification. That is absolutely amazing. That will be tops in the state. Our middle school acceleration continues to be number 2, 3, 4, 5 in the state, where we allow middle school students the opportunity to participate in high school courses, which creates this problem in high school because we have to accelerate the coursework for those students. And then our 3rd grade scores, we were able to celebrate being number 2 in the state. That was also at 38 5 years ago. So we've done all this work to get to this space. And over the next couple of months, you're going to continue to hear about the work the school system is doing. And that work is going to be around innovation. The landscape for public education continues to change, and the levers are being pulled to ensure that change continues to happen. So what public education was even 5 years ago, 20 years ago, and what it will be in 10 years will be significantly different. And the public education systems that are still around and being able to provide quality service to their communities will be the ones that absolutely adapt, and adapt not in 5 years from now, but now. So we're looking at how we use our facilities, how we are locating configurations of schools. It is clear we need to add and grow K-8s because our parents are demanding and saying, I need K-8s. I want my child to be in a safe space through the first 9 years of their education. We need to build and increase pipelines from middle school, elementary middle schools to high schools. We need to provide offerings to all of those community members who are participating, whether it be homeschool or micro school, taking the vouchers to educate their children in the environment that they feel comfortable with. We know there's services that they need to have provided to them. They can't do it all. They've acknowledged that they can't do it all. We want to begin to provide services, whether it's some advanced courses, whether it's enrichment courses. There's a connection and relationship where we can use some of our facilities to reconnect with those parents and make sure that the education that they are providing is quality by being able to supplement some of the great things that are happening in our school district. No one likes change. But change has to happen. And we're going to engage in a conversation over the next several months, year really, to evaluate how we use each facility, what is in the best interest of the community in that surrounding school, in order to ensure when you drive into Indian River County, you're in a place that has world-class quality public education. And that is my update. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there anything anybody would like to say to Dr. Moore?
Get Dr. Moore. No, good.
All I want to say is to compliment you and just as important, if not more important, your team for the way things have turned around. This county, particularly this community, has a lot of, shall we say, elderly people like myself, and I, always say that we really have to build up that pipeline behind us to keep this county growing socially, economically, and so forth. And you folks are doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. They are.
Yes, Councilman Carroll?
Dr. Moore, it was recently publicized that the state of Mississippi has made enormous strides in improving reading competency, elementary school and higher. I think that I read that they attribute it primarily to teaching reading a phonics approach. What is the approach taken in the state of Florida, more particularly Indian River County?
Yeah, let's talk specifically Indian River County, because when you look at our academic outcomes in comparison to the state, there's a significant gap. We drastically outperform the state. We have set one of the things that was attracted me to Indian River County was the Learning Alliance's stake in the ground saying, we believe 90% is something that can absolutely be done, meaning 90% of third graders are reading at or above grade level. We are now number 2 in the state in that score. We had one school at 91%, Beachland this year, one school, Liberty, at 89%. We had Vero Beach Elementary School, which was 38% of its students scoring at proficiency 2 years. It was our second lowest performing school, now at 71. Our curriculum is grounded in the science of reading. We have done a lot of work to ensure that phonics is embedded into what we're doing in our lower grade levels, created a structure that ensures that we are scaffolding instruction from kindergarten all the way through third grade. Just yesterday, we met with Aaron Grawl, Robbie Brackett at our legislative request. And one of our requests is we want to be in charge of VPK for our community, because the earlier that we can have the students in front of us, the better that we can do. So we've had 2 districts here yesterday, 1 district last week, 2 districts the week before coming in to look at what we're doing around our reading, embedding the science of reading, and embedding partnerships in order to ensure that we continue to grow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Moore. Greatly appreciated. We look forward to next year's update. Of course, when you achieve the things that the district has achieved, it gets a little bit more difficult each year because the expectations keep rising higher and higher. But as the Vice Mayor pointed out, we don't have too many school-age children in this district, but the nature of this council and the town here is we pay very close attention to what goes on around us. And I think the last time I checked the numbers, we're about 2.7% of the population of the county. We account for rounding up about 18% of the revenue that's generated. So we have a stake in the game, not just financially, but also culturally, socially, and creating the pipeline, as was referred to by the Vice Mayor. So thank you so much for doing such an excellent job.
Thank you so much.
Okay, see you next year.
Absolutely.
All
Enjoy
right.
the meeting.
All right, moving on to item 3B. We have a proclamation of October 2025 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I'm looking over at our cybersecurity guy. You're taking this down, I hope, right? So, okay. All right, so the proclamation is simply this, and I will dispense with the whereas clauses. Is anybody here on behalf of Cybersecurity Month? Okay. They're here, they could tell us, but then they'd have to kill us. Is that how it's going to work? So, all right. So we're going to dispense with the whereases, and we'll just go right to the nature of the proclamation, which is now therefore the Town Council of the Town of Indian River Shores hereby recognize the month of October 2025 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month and encourages all residents, businesses, and institutions to actively engage in initiatives that promote a safer digital environment, recognizing that cybersecurity is a shared responsibility vital to the well-being of our community. Thank you. So there endeth the proclamation. I know our public safety department is always pretty good about, actually not just pretty good, excellent, about getting information concerning the latest scams communicated to the community. We've seen some newer ones at this time of year. For some reason, they seem to pop up around October, November, December. So thank you for the work you do on that, and let's all be careful with our cybersecurity.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
On that topic, if I may, just a little foreshadowing. As you noted, we have a new Chief Technology Officer, Mike Latinsky, and we are paying very close attention to the cybersecurity piece. We did have a SHADE meeting last year, or early 2024. As we proceed through our domain name change and some other technology items we have here, again, just a little foreshadowing, in coming meetings, I'll either be seeking advice from the council as to whether or not they would like another SHADE meeting on cybersecurity, or whether they would want to defer to an individual council member to meet with us to evaluate the current status and where we are. So just a little foreshadowing moving forward on that, Mr. Mayor.
Terrific, thank you. Yes, and I'm sure it's a topic of interest for all of us, and we'll figure out a way, either through a shady meeting or consistent with the Sunshine Law, to keep everybody up to date on that. You know, particularly with, Florida passed a statute that really makes it illegal for us to pay ransomware. So we've got to nip it at the source, because paying money for the ransomware is currently illegal in the state of Florida. Fortunately, we have not had that experience, and so let's be diligent. All right, item 4, comments from the public regarding the agenda items. This is the public's time to comment on any agenda items. General comments are at the end of the meeting. All right, we have item number 5, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
We have a resolution, so we do need 2 resolutions, so we need a roll call vote.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Altieri? Aye. Let the record show the motion passes unanimously 4-0.
All right, thank you, everyone. Mayor's report. I have more items than...
Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, just before we move off the consent agenda, item 5E, just want to recognize Danette Diefenbach. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
My apologies,
Thank
sorry.
you for stepping up to the plate on the MPO Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. So I just wanted to point that out. That's
My apologies, Ms. Diffenbach. This usually happened at discussion with possible or probable action. It moved to the consent agenda. That's my fault. Thank you so much for doing it. And thank you, Vice Mayor, for picking that up for me. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Mayor's report. As I said, a couple more items than usual. Waste update. So we saw some articles in the press about the transition to waste management, which frankly I didn't really understand and didn't resonate with me, because I think it's fair to say that I've received far fewer complaints than I anticipated. I thought we were going to have a much more tumultuous time moving it over. I checked with our staff. I think it's fair to say that there are fewer complaints than you anticipated. We had some bumps in the road, of course, you're always going to. You know, I don't like to comment on things that are in the press, but I am going to comment on this, that unfortunately I don't think there was very accurate information about the experience most of the folks in the town have had. For the time being, I think it makes the best sense if anybody has an issue, do what you're doing, which is to call the front office and let them know your issues with waste management, and our facilities coordinator has done a yeoman's job, better than a yeoman's job of really dealing with this. So, you know, a lot of the transitional issues I think were focused around, no matter how many mailers you send out, people don't quite focus on when they're supposed to put their old bin out and get their new bin in. And, you know, we had that giant brown bin for lawn collection that not many people need if you use a lawn service. So I've not had an experience or heard feedback of widespread discontent with waste management, nor have I seen even moderate. So I just throw that out for council's consideration. If anybody has a different conclusion, you can let me know.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
the biggest issue had to do with Republican billing. We've great cooperation with Waste Management, but I just echo your comments.
Okay, so I was going to get to the old. We started with the new. You know, there's an old trick. You go with the good news first, and then go with the bad news. So we did have reports of people seeing some account discrepancies from Republic in the nature of asking for billings, and you know that was addressed. There was a memo that was circulated among council that Republic, believes that they've accomplished what they needed to accomplish, and refunds are in the mail either to your account or refund checks. I've not, since the last council meeting, I've not heard additional reports of people being dunned by Republic.
I have that.
You have, okay.
Yes.
All right, care to comment?
I've gotten, in early October, I got statements saying that, you know, they were charging me a deadbeat fee for not paying my bill on time, and my neighbors have gotten those as well. I think we're finally getting past that point, but even 2 days ago, I had neighbors come up to me and saying Republic Services have not picked up the old carts yet, and that they've called multiple times.
Okay. Again, I think we can work that through facilities coordination.
Well,
So yeah.
I asked them to contact Lucy, and Lucy's been great on as well as Janice. So.
Right. Okay. So we have the new. We still have some issues with the old, but just to be clear, we're not going to sue Republic. There was some suggestion in the paper that, you know, that's not how the council works. You know, you have to, council has to consider whether or not to file a lawsuit. We've got to make a formal complaint. At least at this point, it's not risen to the level that we need to do that. It's certainly not acceptable. It's annoying. It's also one of the reasons why Republic is no longer our vendor. But
Well, just one thing on it. They had a quote that was out of the discussion at the previous council meeting that I made that comment. That was not a comment that I made to the reporter after the meeting. So I want to put that on the record.
oh, I appreciate that, and I wasn't directing my comment at you. I was directing my comment at an attempt to take a comment that discusses options in a public meeting and a reporter that doesn't understand how things work and then trying to sensationalize it. So for accurate information, I can only suggest that our taxpayers contact us through the front office, and they will give the accurate information on what's occurring. Hopefully, at the next meeting, we don't have to hear further reports of Republic, you know, continuing to dun people. And I'm sorry that you're having that experience, but I've received no reports myself, and people are usually pretty vocal in letting me know when they have an issue. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, though, and we'll continue with it. All right. If we're done with garbage, we've got enough garbage? Okay. Real estate property tax proposals. There was a memorandum from the legislative leadership out of Tallahassee that I circulated to council, which has we'll summarize it, and basically my message is let's not panic. This memorandum issued for public dissemination basically gave about 8 options, as I recall, in terms of what the legislature intends to move forward in order to have the taxpayers review and then vote, as best I can tell, in some type of referendum. So they're not proposing anything specific to be on the ballot, but it's going to be a menu of items for voters to give preference to how they would like to see ad valorem property taxes changed, modified going forward. So among those proposals, there are 2 key provisions that are the same for all of them. Number 1, it cannot affect public safety budgets. Number 2, it cannot affect educational budgets. So those two items are, let's call it exempt. It's not an exact word. And I can't be more precise because the directive from the legislative leadership is not precise itself. But those are the two common denominators in all of the proposals. So we are, and personally, I'm in favor of real estate tax relief. As I said, we're 2.7% of the population. Our taxpayers pay about, let's call it 18% of the ad valorem revenue raised. So is there room for reform? Is there room for tax relief? I believe there always is, and that it's a useful exercise for us always to take a look at, how our revenues are being raised, but more importantly, how they're being spent. So we have a number of proposals that were set forth in this memo to have just a look at how they would affect our ability to raise revenue. I asked staff to run some scenarios, which I had presented to council today. It's available, it's a public record now since we're talking about it. And basically there are only 3 that can really be calculated with any kind of even back of the envelope certainty, because most of the proposals really depend on unknowns. Who's going to move in, who's going to move out, who may homestead, who may not homestead. So for the current proposals that may or may not be included in this referendum if it goes forward in the legislature, we have some items of interest that just show how the impact will be on ad valorem revenues raised by the town. Probably the one that's, I think, of most interest to people in our town, given our demographic, is a proposal that would basically zero out any real property taxes for people over 65 that are homesteaded. And there are other variations that do this over time. And you'll see that we have a, let's call it an educated guesstimate as to how it would affect the mill rate. Now, I don't intend to give everybody a headache going over numbers, but I give it to council for their benefit, just to see how it would impact. So let's take HJR 205, the senior homestead full exemption. I'm guessing we all would qualify for that up here, that are elected officials. So we're over 65, we're homesteaded, since we're members of council. And you would see that if our town treasurer said if we were to adjust the millage rate to maintain our current revenue, we would go from our current 1.28, I think we are, to 2.5. Now, remember that 2.5 mill rate would only go against what we estimate would be the non-exempt, which are the non-65 and over folks who claim a homestead exemption. Okay, so here are the unknowns. We're not allowed to cut public safety. So would we be able to create a special taxing district in order to fund, public safety? I'm looking at you only because we talked about it. Like most of these proposals, not just the devil, but the devil and all of hell is in the details. So the concept's great. And why am I not panicking? I'm not panicking because there's so much more work to be done here, particularly, when you look at the steps that this is going to take. First, it's going to go to the public, and the public is, under this proposal, is going to be able to identify which one or 2 or 3, we don't really know, they're most interested in. I can guess that, like most things, when you ask people, do they want to pay taxes, it's going to easily get the 2/3 threshold that's going to be needed. So that's step one. If they get that on the ballot in 2026, kudos to them. I think it's going to be a hard push to work through all of this and all the permutations and revenue alternatives that would have to replace ad valorem taxes in order to get some intelligent sense of what's going to happen in the referendum language proposed on the ballot. As I understand it, then after that, it would then go back to the House and the legislature in order to determine, well, how do we want to do this? Do we want to propose a constitutional amendment? Do we want to do it by legislation? Again, that's a detail that could take almost the entirety of a legislative session, in my opinion, going forward. Most importantly, there's no implementing legislation involved in this first step, which is basically, I'm going to call it polling the voters and taxpayers of Florida and saying, what would you like to see in the nature of real property tax reform? So there's a long, long way to go here. And there are many questions that are going to have to be addressed and answered, I think, before this even gets on a referendum ballot. So that's the long and drawn out reason why I'm not panicking yet. I think we have a lot of time to have some feedback, and I think the legislature's got a lot more work to do, but they certainly are making good on the promise to bring real property tax reform before the voters. As it relates to the town and an initiative we talked about the last meeting, and I believe the meeting before, having real property tax reform without simultaneously adjusting other potential sources of increasing a burden on taxpayers, such as utility rates, would be playing whack-a-mole. It'd just be a useless game. So we are continuing to work with a State Taxpayer Association and with our legislatures to generally bring this point to them that particularly with enterprise utilities in our area, special taxing districts, that if they're exempted from this, there's going to be a massive shift from tax burdens from real estate taxes to special taxing districts, which also are based on ad valorem taxes. So bottom line here is we're going to continue, unless council thinks otherwise, with our push to make sure that our utility rates remain reasonable and that it's included in this, let's call this bandwidth of reform. So that's my comment on that. I know it's an awful mouthful. Are there any comments or questions on that before we go to the next item?
Yeah, I just have a question for Mr. Sweeney. Can you just brief me quickly on the critical path of legislation like this? I know this is starting in the House of Representatives. I'm assuming that it has to find its way either through conference or separate enactments in the Senate. Can you just quickly walk us through that?
Absolutely. Mayor, Councilman, Mayor, you did an excellent job giving me a nice roadmap. Step one is assuming there's a referendum, and that's arguably non-binding. It's just a pulse of the arguably electorate of the state of Florida, and we'll see what that happens. And just to buttress what you had mentioned, this would affect everybody in Florida, arguably. So towns, million plus in our large metropolitan areas too. There's 412 cities, some as small as 300 and 400 or smaller. So you'd have a vote come back. Assuming it says yes, as maybe there's an inclination for anything to vote reducing taxes, I then would suggest either the House follows through with some version of our next step, and whether they suggest a constitutional amendment, which then would have to be put back to a vote of the electorate, or immediately just go straight to some version of legislation. It would initiate, I assume, in the House, be sent over to the Senate. There'd probably be a companion based on what is introduced. If they're not exactly the same, of course, then they'd have to go through conference committee. And if it were voted on and approved by both houses, it would go to the governor ultimately for approval, could be vetoed, and then could come back, all of which would take, at the very least, I think, one very lengthy session, and most likely, based on all of these steps, be maybe multiple sessions over multiple years. I do believe that the legislature could enact this through state legislation, not going all the way to a constitutional amendment. But again, how permanent do they want to make it? And if they did it by a constitutional amendment, they still would have to have enacting legislation. We saw this several years ago with the approval of medical marijuana, and there was no enacting legislation, and for many years there was attempts at trying to create state legislation on all of those enacting provisions. So I think the mayor's correct on his foresight. This is probably a 6 to 12 month litmus test, and then we would be looking at my estimation, 12 to 24 month possible interpretation or implementation, excuse me.
How do you get to a referendum? Does that come out of the House?
It could. Again, it could be introduced based on a suggestion from either side of the House to get out, or it could be introduced by a grassroots effort that then takes this up based on what it is. So it could come in several ways.
As I read what they're doing, the HJR is anticipating that they'll get a joint resolution by both the House and the Senate and put it on the ballot as a referendum that way. And it's non-binding, so it doesn't have to, at least my reading, you correct me, it does not have to conform with all the constitutional requirements for a constitutional amendment.
Correct. It's not enacting, and even if they did propose, you could propose an actual legislative proposal, a new statute by referendum, but it would be exactly the wording of whatever. Instead, I think this is much more of a poll, if you were, an electorate poll. And so we'll have to see where that goes to start with.
Mr.
Councilman
Mayor,
Carroll.
thank you for the update. It's very informative. I have a very simple question. If someone at the podium could, what is the problem that they're trying to solve? The state of Florida is flourishing in every regard. What is the problem that Tallahassee is trying to solve?
Well, let me address it. I was going to address this in the next time, so the mayor did a good start on it. I'm on the Florida League of Cities Legislative Policy Advisory Committee on Finance and Taxation. We've had 2 meetings so far. It is the belief coming out of the mayor's, coming out of the governor's office that property taxes are too high, that it's a second rent on your property, and also there's implications that people are losing their homes as a result of that. That is complete and utter nonsense on that second one because, excuse me, I had Wesley Davis our property appraiser, do some work on the number of properties that actually go to tax sale. There's not been a single homesteaded property in the last 5 years go to tax sales. Now that's due to some nuance in terms of the amount of money that can be bid on it. But
In our county.
in our county, yes, we're correct, sorry. Our county. In terms of single-family residential properties that are not homesteaded, they've averaged 5 a year. That's it. So they're the numbers that Wesley gave me, and we talked to it. So there was a big discussion on this, at these meetings, and the question was if the property tax is reduced or eliminated, then how do people make up the fees? And there was talk about possibly having a set of different options, sales taxes and things of that nature. And I pushed back pretty hard in the meeting because frankly, I think, and this is going to be, give my personal opinion, and maybe it's a little bit of a social opinion, I think it's blatantly unfair that the burden should be shifted on property taxes from people, say, one example, are over 65 to those who are renters, young people trying to establish households and so forth. It's tough enough for them as it is, and I think that just does damage to the economy overall. But one idea that came out, and frankly this was pushed by Ed Dodd, Councilman of Sebastian, he said, well, our property taxes as a percentage of our revenues are substantially less than, say, our town. And, let's have these series of options take place. And I went up to the gentleman from the Florida League of Cities who was running this meeting, and I went up to him afterwards. I said, that puts us in a very difficult position. And I don't want to be in a situation where the FLC plays off one set of municipalities against the other, and he promised that was not going to be done. One thing I brought up in the meeting is, let's say the set of options get out there as a constitutional amendment for voters to vote on. What happens if they vote for 3 different ones that reduce their taxes? They're in conflict with each other. Nobody can answer that question to me. What happens? How are the courts going to deal with that? So, other things that were brought up is, you're probably going to have a substantial increase in homestead fraud, people claiming that they have a homestead. There was a question raised about police, paying for that. My understanding from this meeting is the town cannot charge a fee for police protection because it covers people. We can charge for fire department services. That's what I was told. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on. So that was the main thing that I was going to cover. You covered a lot of the points that I planned to cover, so you're spot on when it comes to that. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so this is, a very interesting topic. Councilman Carroll, I think I would add to what the Vice Mayor said in terms of the motivation for this is that it probably has less to do with us and our location here and more to do with other locations where there's a concern over, well, I won't name the county, but $200 million is tossed around as, revenue that's, quote unquote missing or unaccounted for. Up north, close to the Georgia line, I won't mention that one, but even that.
County begins with a D.
Yes, even that one has, hundreds of millions of dollars of what the state authorities would say is questionable spending. So I think there's a policy concern here that people are taxed too much, not too little. The ability, there was a budget director in the first Bush administration who said starving the beast is the best way to get budgets under control by restricting the amount of tax dollars, and then people can really prioritize. So in my view, I think, giving it the most charitable look, it's an extension of a desire to try to root out fraud, waste, and abuse, but handling it from the revenue side, not the spend side first, and saying, okay, well, let's get your priorities in order. But again, my happy note here is after looking at this memorandum for the first time, I was astonished, and I thought, oh my gosh, this could be really, really bad. And then if you read it carefully and you see what the process is actually going to bring us, it's going to bring us, basically a voter's poll on what they would like to see done. I think by necessity, and everybody's welcome to disagree with me, until you answer that fundamental question, you really can't even get to the heavy lifting of, how are we going to replace this revenue? Is it going to be increasing the gas tax? Is it going to be tourism tax increases? There's not enough dollars to go around to compensate for that revenue. The Vice Mayor's right. You're not allowed to charge for police services, but is there going to be a statutory structure that allows an add-on to the ad valorem to compensate some or all of police services? Is there going to be a modification to what we can charge for building services? So, the ledger of you can't use ad valorem taxes is going to have to be counterbalanced by some thoughtful process of how do you raise revenue on the other side, and in a way that's fair. So I'm not panicking yet. Sam, you and I will be off the council before time to panic probably, but I think we're in a wait and see kind of position here. I think the best we can do as a municipality is to keep our state elected officials, and I am in touch with them on how these various scenarios would look to us as best we can. As I said earlier, some we can't even, it's not even worth making a prediction, because how are we going to figure out how many people are going to come in and come out, and who may homestead, who may not? So there you have it. If we're done with that, then we can move on. Any more thoughts on this? I know you're going to address something further.
Yeah, no, just one other thing on it. from what I heard up in Orlando at this meeting, there's been dead silence out of the Senate leadership on this, so that's a good thing. So.
Okay. The last item in my longer than usual mayor's report is going to be for council. It's that time of year where we're going to give Jim Harpring his feedback at the next meeting, hopefully, provided everybody thinks that November is enough time to give Jim a review. And as part of that review, we would like a comprehensive summary on what you think the tax policy is going to be going forward. We fully expect Republic's issues to be resolved and all sorts of easy stuff. So is that okay? Everybody have enough time to give Jim formal feedback in November? Yeah. All right, item 7, Vice Mayor Alwater, you have 2 items you want to bring up.
Okay. So the review we covered, so we can jump past that. Okay, I just want to give you a update on what's going on with the water and sewer plant. There was a finance committee meeting over at Vero Beach, our finance commission meeting where they went through things. Previously I had reached out to Rob Bolton, the utilities director, and said, I'd be willing to help in terms of giving my opinion on financing options, given my experience in the bond market over a third of a century. This thing has ballooned in price. It was $82 million back 2022, and they say because of inflation, it's gone up to 164.8. Inflation on these materials and labor hasn't gone up that much, but what's the point of spending time fighting something we can't do anything about? So what I'm reached out to them is to try to get us most effective execution on the financing so our citizens don't pay even more in rates than the jump that is going to occur. So they handed this sheet out here, and I know if somebody's watching on TV, they'll probably have to blow it up, but this is what they project is the sort of the timetable as to how things are going to occur. So they're not going to do a bond issue all at once. And by the way, I think the town manager has lived here much longer than I have. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is probably, at least on a nominal basis, the biggest municipal project in the history of this county at 164 million. You think anything would be? Yeah, okay. So they're going to do the financing in 2 stages. If you look at the green on the right under borrowing, 55 million, they're to get themselves started. And then they're going to do a financing of 70 million in September 2026. The thought process is on the 55 million, they do a short-term financing. I think they're going to roll it into the 70 million and issue, a total bond of roughly of $125 million. So what I'm hoping to do is to weigh in on the best way that they can execute this. Could you flip to the next page, please? Okay, so this is sort of the timeline on how things are going to work. What troubles me somewhat, although it really doesn't have that much impact, is the Utilities Commission doesn't get to see any of this, even though I think it's under the purview of the Utilities Commission. If you look at the resolution they passed on the objectives of the Utility Commission, that it covers rates and certainly financing impacts rates, but it's like beating a dead horse in terms of talking about this. And at the end of the day, it's an advisory committee and it doesn't have that much impact anyway. So I'm not going to go through all these, but they're in the record here. So could you flip to the next page? Okay, so again, this is sort of a lot of detail on the cost of work. And as the mayor, if you get out your Hubble telescope, I'm sure you're going to read cell 17F there. But since they provided it, I just wanted to have it on the record. So flip to the next page. So the last one again is very small. This is my spreadsheet, and you have it in front of you. So this is a model I created to try to track what could be the potential interest rate cost under different options. So I'll go through this very, very quickly. Box A shows the $125 million that they're going to be potentially borrowing based on the current projected cost of the plant and the grants they've gotten so far. Hopefully, they'll get some more grants. The Box B looks at where interest rates are at any point in time. So I'm assuming that this water utility will issue revenue bonds. They'll get a credit rating of a single A from the credit rating services. That might be Fitch, Moody's, and/or Standard & Poor's. And based on that, I pull down from a major dealer. They update on a monthly basis what municipal single A rated bonds are at any point in time. So the items in blue, you put in what is known as a yield curve. So what a yield curve is at any single point in time, the rates for bonds of a particular class, in this case a single A rating, that you could execute 2 years at a 275 all the way out to 30 years at a 491. And then what I did was I put different options in. Option C was they'd issue one bond with 30-year maturity. Just to have that there, you wouldn't do that. Options D and E would be either issuing bonds with 6 equal principal payments or 5 equal principal payments, and then I calculate based on those rates above what the total interest cost would be for that different debt structure. The idea behind issuing bonds with different maturities is you try to match up the service life of the bonds, the service life of the water plant, which depreciates over time relative to the bond service. So you don't want to have a situation where the bonds all get paid down in, say, 20 years or 25 years, and those ratepayers that happen to be in the system at that point in time have to pay all that, and basically the people earlier essentially get somewhat of a free ride. So that's what you're trying to do is to match things up. So I've been working with Rob Bolton, kind of giving him a crash course in the bond market, explaining what has been going on. And, I think at the end of the day, I sort of went back and forth on helping out on this, but I think at the end of the day, although they may turn around and say, well, the town is endorsing everything we're doing on the water and sewer plant. Obviously, we're not. I'm just one person, but at the end of the day, if I can help them get better execution, that might save us a few dollars at the end. So that's just a quick rundown. We're happy to move on or answer any questions.
Anything for the Vice Mayor? The only thing for me is thank you. Thank you for working with him. Yeah, we're in a position here where whether we like it or not, I think your expert assistance is in the best interest of the town. Obviously, we had a long-standing public disagreement, but here we are. Last question, and I know it's a guess, but let's say the $160 million approximately in construction costs. Is that a light number in your estimation, or should that be just about right?
I think it's pretty close because they supposedly have a price not to exceed, although I think there's some wiggle room. But Mr. Altieri, who's been in those meetings, may have a different perspective than me.
No, I don't have a different perspective, but my memory of the agreements were that it has a contingency and also there was another provision that held open the possibility that the 164 could go up significantly. And as I read your memo, Vice Mayor, in the fullness of time, it turns a $164 million project into a $223 million project when you consider financing. So it's
right.
I agree with you that I don't have a long memory in Indian River County and Indian River Shores or Vero Beach, but I'd be surprised to learn that there was another project done that gets close to this in its magnitude.
Well, what I found troubling is they never put any money aside. They knew this plant was going to have to be replaced. You would never run a private business like this, turn around and finance a new project 100% financing, other than grants. And But we all know they took the money and threw it into the general fund and also took cost allocations. For example, just so people in our town know, there's a portion of the city council pay that is allocated to the water and sewer plant, so we as ratepayers get to pay that. And there's other cost allocations, which I've argued with them over and over again, violate government accounting standard board rules. Heather and I have talked about this with different GASB principles, but it's like talking to a brick wall.
Yeah.
So.
The other question I had about was about your suggestion that there's a program which, pursuant to which they would make 6 equal principal pay downs. Those pay downs are over $20 million. And I'm just wondering whether or not on their balance sheet.
Well,
First of all, whether on their balance sheet they have the ability to do that. And second, whether or not they would have the discipline to do it 5 years in a row.
they'll build into their rate base. So we will pay them. So if you look at an accounting ledger, that they would build in depreciation that should equal the principal pay down as we go along. So we're all going to pay for it. That's not coming out of the general fund.
Well, I agree we all, but there's also the potential for a surcharge on out-of-district folks, or rather out-of-municipality folks. So South Island customers, Indian River Shores customers, we could see a 25% surcharge up to 50% on current statutes. So
Well, they claim they're not going to do it.
they claimed that they were going to match the rates for the county too.
Yep.
So we just have to be diligent, watch carefully, and we'll continue to push for legislation that gives us some protection going forward. All right, thank you very much for, as usual, the very excellent and detailed report. Appreciate all your efforts. And we'll move to item 8A, which is the approval of ordinance number 582, which is a second reading. That's the 5-year capital improvement plan. Don't worry, Mr. Town Attorney, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can read the title so that we're in compliance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 582, an ordinance of the Town of Indian River Shores, Florida, to adopt the 5-year capital improvement program 2026-2030 as part of the town's comprehensive plan in accordance with mandates set forth in Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing a business impact estimate, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, providing for Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is the second reading.
All right, is there a motion to approve the second reading?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll? Aye. Councilmember Altieri? Aye. Let the record show the motion passes 4-0.
All right, item 8B, this was deferred to this meeting. There was a question about some of the language. I trust that's been resolved to everyone's satisfaction. And if it is, yes, sir? Yes, do you have a comment?
I had a comment at the last meeting. In the interim, I have gone back over SB 180. I've gone back over the FEMA firm maps. I continue to have a concern about Ordinance 558, which isn't under review today, but a lot of my concerns about all of that has been assuaged by I think a deeper understanding of the FEMA maps and the profile of our community, in large part because the way the FEMA map is written, just about every residential plat west of A1A is in the X zone and would not be burdened by the SISD provisions. And that being the case, it leaves the east side of A1A, and we're basically talking about the oceanfront homes there, which I think are they're in AE, and they have a different issue there. And I think that the SISD provisions there are literally less. The impact of those is less when you consider what they're designed to do. So I wanted to take a pause on this last month. I've done a lot of work looking into it, and I'm comfortable now that I'm prepared to go forward with it.
All right, thank you very much, Councilman Altieri. I also went back and found it a useful exercise to delve into it. So with that, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Mayor, may I just very briefly?
Oh, I'm
just
sorry, yes, you have
make
to
the
read
record
it
clear.
after all of that.
Yes,
That's
I'm
right.
sorry about that.
Yes.
This is ordinance number 584, an ordinance of the Town of Indian River Shores, Florida, a municipal corporation amending section 165.16, building and structures, C, Florida Building Code, technical amendments, 1, providing for a business impact estimate, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Town Attorney. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Foley?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Atwater?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Altieri?
Aye.
Let the record show the motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Just as an aside, I was discussing briefly with the town attorney and the town manager before the meeting that 180 is creating all sorts of problems. There are some jurisdictions that are facing some pretty intense scrutiny for not amending their ordinances to be in compliance. And to my knowledge, they didn't even try to enforce the ordinance that was against it, but they're still being reviewed by state authorities for that. So we get these unfunded mandates from time to time, and we have to pay attention to them and comply. So thank you for being diligent on that down there at the end of the podium. Staff updates, 9A, building official reports and statistics. Mr. Held, you've been busy.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. I do not have anything to add in addition to the monthly report that was submitted for last month, but I am open for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Held?
Just, I noticed a pretty sharp drop-off, and we're down, permits issued year-to-date, additions already 14%, probably 16%, inspections 19%. Any comments on that, other than the numbers? Any scuttlebutt you're hearing?
No, nothing regarding.
Okay.
No, I don't have any comment for that, Vice Mayor.
Okay. Fair enough.
Great,
All right, terrific. Thank you very much.
great. Thank you.
9B, code enforcement report. Inspector Mike Rands.
Good morning.
That sounds very British, by the way, Inspector Mike Rands.
I have no further updates on the report. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
None for me. Any questions for our code enforcement?
Just that I like the format with the graphs and everything. I said to town manager, there's a lot of stuff going on that this report really talks about, that there's a robust compliance and inspection regimen. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anything else? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Public Works and Facilities are always busy. As everyone knows, we have a fairly large campus here. We have Max Wilksius, who's our Public Works employee. Just want to make sure everyone knows him and knows his face. He's been working pretty hard out there on a variety of things because he does all of our MS4 inspections for stormwater compliance, and the like. And we're working right now also on essentially trying to tidy up the entrance, north and south entrance to the town. Max has been helping coordinate the painting at the columns and clearing out that area a little bit, and working with us in those areas. And he's also a great set of eyes and hands in the field. That's what we have.
Terrific. Thank you. Yeah, I see you popping up all over town. So keep up the good work. Thank you. Anything for Public Works? Any Public Works related things? All right, terrific. Town Treasurer report. Ms. Christmas.
I only have one additional item to report is you'll be seeing a new face in my office. Erica Maeda just started working as my bookkeeper, so if you stop by, you can meet her there. And she's been with us about 2 weeks now.
And as a heads up, she'll also, you may see her in the Postal Center as well, assisting in that role, which is analogous to before. So thank you for that, Heather.
I have no other further updates beyond what's in my report, but I'm available for questions.
Is the audit done yet?
I wish, but no, it should be the second week in December.
Right, but all joking aside, we're well on in compliance with our required filings, and
Yes.
we don't have to worry about any of that. Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Item 9E, Public Safety Department Report and Statistics. Spoiler alert for council. I had some questions from members of the public that I asked to be addressed, so we don't blindside people when they come up on items that they can prepare on. I got questions about e-bikes. Are e-bikes allowed on the sidewalk, the ones that go zooming by? And then the next one was, I'm trying to read my own notes here. Generally golf carts, golf cart regulations, are they allowed, not allowed? I was walking along A1A and a bicyclist was particularly upset that there was a golf cart that was in the bicycle lane, and I thought we'd get some clarification for anybody who's listening or watching this, and potentially if it continues to be a problem, we can put out a notice to the public as a friendly reminder. So let's start with the e-bikes.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. Edward Ryer, I'm Edward Ryer, Assistant Chief of Police Operations for the Public Safety Department on behalf of Chief Stone and the Public Safety Department. So the e-bikes, in short, the electric bicycles in Florida, by state law, they are afforded all the rights and privileges and are subject to all the duties as the operator of a regular bicycle would be. What that means, and I'll read word for word from the Florida State Statute 316.20655, which is actually titled Electric Bicycle Regulations. Paragraph 7 states that, quote, an operator may ride an electric bicycle where bicycles are allowed, including but not limited to streets, highways, roadways, shoulders, bicycle lanes, and bicycle or multi-use paths, end quote. The definition of a multi-use path from the same statute is a shared use path, is a paved, physically separated facility for use by pedestrians, bicyclists, skaters, and others. So that would include the sidewalks as it stands right now. Regarding the golf carts, sir, in Florida, golf carts are not allowed to operate on sidewalks unless they're approved by the local government. So that's as it stands right now.
Okay, thank you. What about bicycle lanes and, on A1A? I thought there's some regulation about that, so.
You're referring to the golf carts, sir?
Yes.
I'm sorry. So
And they have to be
they are
tagged?
prohibited from traveling on Highway A1A, as they're only allowed to operate on roadways with speed limits of 30 miles an hour or less. The lowest speed we have on Highway A1A is 35 miles an hour, which runs from Fred Turk south to the town line. So they are not allowed to be on the roadway on Highway A1A.
Okay, and certainly not in the bicycle lane, so.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. It's prescient we have our new representative to the bicycle committee here, so you can tell them we're up on the issues for bicycles, especially with the vice mayor's interest in cycling, and Councilman Carroll too, I know, is a avid cyclist, and I think you are too, right? I'm gonna have to get a bicycle. All right, actually I have one, I just don't think the tires have air in it, so. Well, thank you very much, I really greatly appreciate that, and
Quick question.
yes, please, go ahead.
So there's a speed limit on the roads. Is there a speed limit on a bike path? These e-bikes can go very, very fast.
So there is not a speed limit on the path. However, by Florida law, there's 3 classifications of e-bikes, and the highest, they're limited to a motor of 750 watts or less, and they're not allowed to go over 28 miles per hour.
28 miles per hour on a bike path is scary.
Yes,
Really.
it is.
Is there anything we can do about that? Vice Mayor, you have a particular interest in these issues.
I don't know what the well, I was my understanding, may be wrong, that Vero Beach lets golf carts go on A1A and the speed limit's 35 there, that they carved out some exemption, and does that apply to the e-bikes as well, or am I incorrect on that?
No, you are correct. They did make provisions, Vero Beach did make provisions for golf carts. I don't know where they are with e-bikes right
Okay.
now because it is new.
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I may, in that regard, there's an area, but it's not on A1A, and actually, it begins 45 on A1A in the city of Vero Beach, just past Quail Valley Country Club, so 45 south from there. However, the area I believe they've designated is the area associated with Club Drive, the golf course, because the golf course, there's a crossing path to get across A1A,
Right.
which is authorized, but it's very narrow and it's very limited in that area. And I believe the speed limit is 25 or 30 back in the Club Drive, Ocean Drive area. And they do have a narrow carve out. I'm not sure when that happened, I believe some time ago, but it's only for that particular
Okay, so
area.
it's not on A1A then?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
They don't have jurisdiction on that either.
No, sir.
Well, that's good.
All right, thank you. What else do you have for us?
So the only other things I have to add to the report, last Saturday, our department, 5 of our officers participated in a countywide active shooter drill that took place at the Mueller campus of the Indian River State College. That was very successful. Earlier this week, 2 of our officers traveled to Ocala to work on building our new fire engine. Yearly firearms training in our department was recently completed in the last 2 weeks, and currently basic and advanced life support recertification is underway. That should be done within another week. And we do currently have on loan to us a ambulance from Indian River County due to one of our ambulances being out for body work and the other one for mechanical work. So that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Keep up the good work. Stay safe. We greatly appreciate our public safety department and all they do for us. So, and I know this is the exciting time of year for you with car carriers coming in and turning around and people coming back and forth. So, again, stay safe and thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you all.
Town Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything additional to report today. Always happy to answer any questions and available at any time.
Anything for our Town Attorney? Remember, he charges by the word. Okay. Town Manager, Mr. Harpring.
Though I'm on salary, I'll be brief. We covered the substance of what I would have during the course of the meeting. I don't have anything additional for the council at this time, other than just to express my thanks for the great team. I know that council sees it all the time, and you're here in town, but we just have an amazing team at, in our town hall area, public safety, and I think the residents should be very grateful for, for the council's support of our team here, and I'm appreciative of that too. So just want to mention that.
Spoken like a man who's going to be reviewed next month. So, no, thank you for the hard work you do. All right, council committee reports are non-action items. So, do we have any reports starting from right to left?
No report. We will not have a meeting of the Utilities Commission until the first week of December.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Altieri. Treasure Coast Council of Local Governments, October meeting. We initially didn't have a quorum, then we did have a quorum. So we were able to do quorum-related items. Lots of discussions about SB 180, which we briefly alluded to, and the lawsuits that have been filed to overturn it. We did not join in it, but of course, if there's any relief that finds it unconstitutional on any grounds or unenforceable, we will benefit because it would have statewide application, much like Form 9, Form 1, that litigation. There was a presentation by CareerSource, which I'll take a couple of minutes just to talk about. And I think it's amazing that this is a resource that's available for our county. So anybody who knows anybody who could be interested, it outsources talent and employment for specific jobs and general jobs. And they'll really work with businesses to find local talent. And I'm hearing from the community that good people are hard to find, even with unemployment rates kind of creeping up in our area. So they're worth giving a call. And they'll even go so far as if an employer, has a specific job specification that they would like to have filled, they'll do the yeoman's work for you. Kind of like having a search firm, for your tax dollars, state tax dollars, not local dollars. So it also extends to municipalities. So now I know we're lean and mean and we're staffed up, but for any municipalities that have a need for particular talent, Career Source has worked with them to find qualified folks. So that's it for Treasure Coast Council local governments. I think the rest of the intergovernmental committees will be ramping up again after taking the usual breaks over the summer. So that's my report. Vice Mayor.
Okay, 2 meetings. There was the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities. They met here in Vero Beach, so I didn't have to drive very far. All the discussion was the tax situation, so we've covered that. Had a Beach and Shores Preservation Advisory Committee meeting this past Monday. A couple things of note. First of all, we had an unprecedented green sea turtle nesting season. Normally what happens with green sea turtle nest, you have a cycle where you have a strong year and then it drops off, but we've pretty much had close to back-to-back years. So we had nesting activity peaked in July with 4,310 nests, and I believe there was a total of 4,515. So it shows that things are doing well. In spite of the recent storms really beating up Sector 4 quite a bit, but the sand did its job in terms of protecting us. Hopefully it'll start to come back. Speaking of sand, the beach restoration is going to start for Sector 5. That is the very south end of town past Range Monument 72, so it's a relatively small stretch, but it'll down just a little bit north of Tracking Station Park, and then it'll continue down into the city, and that'll occur on November 1st. The interesting thing about that was when there were bids put out for Sector 4 for sand, we only had one firm bid. This time there were 5 or it might have been 6. So that's good that we're seeing more companies bidding because of course you have a better chance for better price execution. So
is that bidding for delivery or for quarries?
That's taking the sand from the quarry, moving it here and putting it on the beach, the whole 9 yards, like they did in Sector 4. So
but it's still likely coming from Stewart's, the sand.
I didn't recognize the name of it's coming in from inland. Yeah, it's not coming from off the ocean. So that's it for me.
So Bob, I noticed the beach where I go is obviously Sector 4, but the beach profile looks fine, but the erosion got to the top of the berm so that we are now at an escarpment just before the dunes.
Sure.
And I'm with you that hopefully the sands come back, but I don't know how it comes back to the point where we're getting up beyond the berms and...
No, my understanding, it won't do that, but it'll build the sand in between out to the low water mark. But yeah, you're correct. That will, there's nothing to get it up in the air like that.
It's like an 8-foot escarpment right now.
It's rough.
Thank you. All right. Any comments from the public? No comments from the public? All right. We are adjourned until our November meeting, which will be earlier than usual because of Thanksgiving. So everybody have a great day, a great rest of the month, and we'll see you in November.